Ever had a cold metal barrel press against your skull, and in that moment, you realize, without a shadow of a doubt, that the person holding it wishes nothing more than for you to just vanish? That's where my story begins. And let me tell you, it's not just mine. This story belongs to every single time power twists into something ugly and assumes no one is watching. But sometimes you pick the wrong person to try and break. That morning, I was just a guy on his way to visit his wife's resting place. September 3rd, a date carved in my heart like the scent of her perfume or the sound of her laughter when life still felt whole. I wore a worn-out t-shirt and jeans, driving the beat-up car she left behind, hoping, just maybe, that the world hadn't entirely turned its back on me. The sun was burning, and the air felt as thick as a blanket, but I kept the windows down anyway. I needed the breeze to carry me somewhere close to her, somewhere that wasn't here. Then, the flashing blue lights appeared behind me, like a sudden storm. I glanced at the speedometer, 54 in a 55 zone. No other violations, nothing out of place. It was just one of those moments when the world picks a fight for no reason. I pulled over, hands resting on the wheel at 10 and 2, like my father always told me. In the rear view, I caught a glimpse of the two officers approaching. One, broad and intimidating, walked with a swagger that oozed entitlement. That was Officer Keller. The other officer, Morales, looked fresh out of training, nervous, unsure. I caught his eyes for a split second, and there it was. Fear? It was hard to tell, but I saw it. Keller didn't greet me, didn't ask how I was doing. He just barked, demanding my ID and registration. "Here you go," I said. "Ethan Blackwell," he muttered, reading my name. "What brings you to this side of town?" "I'm heading to see a friend," I replied. Keller sneered, eyes flicking to the old car I was driving. He made some crude remark about it being a widow's ride. I bit my tongue. Then he claimed he smelled marijuana. Now, let me clarify, I've never touched the stuff. Not once in my life. But to him, that was enough reason to drag me out of my own car, shove me against the hood, and start searching like he was hunting for treasure. His hands were rough, his words sharp. Morales stood back, unsure, shifting on his feet, clearly torn but not brave enough to speak up. And let me tell you, silence is its own kind of violence. Keller found nothing, of course. But when he came back to the car, I saw him slip something from his vest and hide it under my seat. A small baggie. And just like that, he framed me. "Looks like we've got a narcotic here," Keller said with that smug grin. I turned to Morales. "You saw him. This isn't right." He couldn't meet my eyes. He just stayed silent. Keller didn't waste time. He yanked out his gun, jammed it to the side of my head while I knelt on the gravel. "Any last words, hero?" he hissed, his voice dripping with venom. I didn't flinch. "Do you realize what you're doing?" I asked, calm as a breeze. That only made him angrier. "You want to lawyer up? Let's see how far that gets you," he growled. I turned just enough to make sure Morales could hear me clearly. "The dash cam is recording, right?" Morales stiffened. "It's on, Serge," he mumbled, voice barely audible. "Title 18, Section 242, I said, my tone steady. "You're both in it now." Keller froze. The gun lowered. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't going to end in that dusty parking lot. They cuffed me tight, dragging me to the car as Keller reveled in the power, talking a big game all the way to the station. He charged me with resisting arrest, possession, and threatening an officer, layering lie upon lie like it was second nature. I didn't resist. I didn't shout. I just waited. Because if you know the system, you know it's not about fighting back with anger, but with truth. And truth needs evidence. Booking was a slow process. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, the air thick with stale heat. I watched, absorbed every detail, knowing they'd have to face it all later. I told the desk officer, "You already have my name." He raised an eyebrow. "You want to do this the hard way?" Keller swaggered in, tossing his head back. "Don't waste time on him, Tony. He's got an attitude problem." He smirked, leaning close. "You think you matter here, huh? You don't." I looked him dead in the eye. "You think I'm alone?" They shoved me into a holding cell, But Morales lingered outside, guilt all over his face. I could see it. He wanted to do the right thing, but he was too scared. I told him, "You still have a chance to make it right." He didn't answer. He just stood there, a shadow in the doorway. 5 minutes. One call, the officer said. I didn't waste time. I dialed a number I knew by heart. Marshal's office, Agent Monroe speaking. "This is Blackwell." "Code Blue, Sierra 12, I said. Her tone shifted instantly. "Where are you?" "Maple Ridge PD, Unit 707, secure. Dispatching now." I hung up and waited, hands folded, breathing slow. About 30 minutes later, the air changed. Black SUVs pulled into the lot, agents storming inside. The chief, a man named Whitaker, sputtered at his desk, but Agent Monroe handed him a warrant. "Federal override. Lock it down." Keller walked out, holding a bag of chips, and paled when he saw the feds. "You've got to be kidding me. All this for one guy?" Monroe's voice was ice cold. "Not one guy. You're holding a federal judge without cause and tampering with evidence. That's a federal offense." Keller's face drained of color when he realized who I was. Then, Deputy Director Gable of the FBI stepped forward. "You pointed a gun at a federal judge, Keller," he said. Keller just stood there, unable to speak. I was escorted out, 2 marshals by my side, my eyes straight ahead as I passed Keller and Morales. They didn't say a word. They didn't have to. Their world was crumbling beneath them. The fallout came quick and ugly. Evidence surfaced. Old complaints, long buried, came back to life. Whitaker, the chief, wasn't just complicit. He had covered it all up. And he wasn't the only one. The dash cam footage sealed the deal. You could see it all. Keller planting the evidence, drawing his gun, looking like he owned the world. Morales's silence was even worse. Eventually, Morales cracked. He called Agent Monroe, voice shaking. "I'll testify. I'll tell you everything. About Keller. About Whitaker." It took guts, or maybe just enough shame to finally do what was right. The feds swooped in. Whitaker turned on Keller to save his own skin, handing over files that detailed years of corruption. They called it the Maple Ridge collapse, and every major news network ran with it. The trial? It was everything you'd expect. I sat on the witness stand, laying it out. They pulled me over because of the color of my skin. They planted drugs. I didn't speak because it shouldn't matter who I am. Whether I'm a judge or a janitor, it doesn't matter. The dash cam footage played, and the jury saw it all. Then came Keller's old partner, Ramirez. He admitted Keller used to stash drugs to plant on suspects, calling it cleaning the streets faster than the courts could. The courtroom fell silent. Some people cried. Some just sat in shock. Even Whitaker, the old chief, came out of retirement to admit, "I was part of the problem. We protected our own." Everything fell apart when the prosecutor played the dash cam footage. Keller cracked, admitting he didn't know I was a federal judge. "Does that make it better?" she asked. He was found guilty on all counts: planting evidence, assault, obstruction. Afterwards, I told reporters, it's about accountability. No badge is above the law. 3 days later, the Maple Ridge PD was dissolved. The DOJ named a legal initiative in Sarah's honor, bringing hope for change. Justice is a journey. Walk it with me.